Hi, welcome back to the channel. 6 tips for women to keep themselves safe while they're out and about, either in their daily lives or as a lone worker. We get lots of females these days being lone workers. So I'm going to give you 6 tips. There are no top tips. I've seen lots of videos, 10 top tips, 8 top tips, 5 top tips. There are no top tips. There are just tips and there's knowledge. So I'm going to give you 6 tips today for keeping yourself safe as a woman or a young girl while you're out and about in your daily life. Before I do this, could I ask if you could hit the like, subscribe and share button. And if you're finding this helpful, please share it with your wives, your friends, your colleagues, your daughters, your mothers, girlfriends, people who think you're going to help. Please do share it. Secondly, before I get into the tips, I'm running an online workshop, ladies only. I'm going to be looking at the same subject: how women keep themselves safe while they're either in their daily job, in their daily life, and if they're a lone worker, especially if they're a lone worker. The workshop's Sunday the 30th of March, 10 till 12 UK time. I'll put a link below so you can register onto that workshop. I'll also put a link below where I'm going to put where you can get my 10.5 tips, different tips to the ones I'm going to put on here. So I'll put that below as well, where you can access that for free, and then you can sign up for the ladies only safety workshop. So let me give you some stats just before I get into these top tips. 2023, over 1 million females, that's young girls and women, were attacked. Over 1 million. That's reported attacks. So that's not even the ones that are not even being reported. You could probably double that. If we've got 1 million women and girls reporting attacks, and I'll go through the different ones in the escalation of seriousness there, we can pretty much double it for unreported attacks as well. That's a lot of attacks. And as we all know, misogyny is on the rise today. It really is. And it's more important than ever that women and young girls have that knowledge to keep themselves safe. So we're looking at everything from verbal abuse, the harassment, the wolf whistles, the name calling, all the derogatory terms that people use, men use these days. As my wife, every time she sees it on the news, says, "What is wrong with men these days?" And I cannot give it a definite answer apart from it's not all men. There are good men out there, but there are, as we see, more misogynistic behaviours and tendencies and men out there these days, and it's getting worse. So physical attacks, we're seeing lots of women and young girls being either beaten with minor injuries or beaten with serious injuries where they've been hospitalised. And we have sexual attacks. It's constant, isn't it, on the news all the time. Stalking, and I'm talking about the UK here. This is not America. This is not anywhere else where we used to hear these things in the past. We're looking at stalking and kidnapping as well. You'd be surprised how many kidnapping offences take place, women and young girls. Then we're looking at the rape and the murders as well. So going up in that escalation there. So we're looking at a lot of people being, for want of a better reason, better phrase, soft targets, and that's what we don't want. We want people to be hard targets. We want people to be safe while they are out and about in their daily lives. So looking at these tips, and like I said, there's no top tips. These are just not in any order, and it's across a wide variety of what we would do in our daily lives. First thing is though, and this is right across, not just for females, not just for women and girls, it's boys, men, older generations, younger generations, for everyone. Situational awareness. There is a huge lack of people being situationally aware. And I get really frustrated when I'm seeing, especially on the news as well, I hear politicians saying this, I see security experts saying this, newsreaders saying this. if you've got a bad feeling in your gut, you know, act on your gut, and it's just not that simple. And a lot of females who've been attacked said, yeah, I thought there was something wrong, but I just shrugged it off because I didn't think there was anything wrong. It doesn't work like that. You know, this is a trained response. You have to train for situational awareness. But, and I've seen a couple of things where, you know, people say, get off your phone, get your earpods out. We have a life, you know, we can't just go around in a bubble. We have a life. We still can be situationally aware with our earpods in on our phone. We just need to learn how to be aware while we're doing that. And on the workshop, I will be talking about situational awareness for ladies in particular. Please be situationally aware. Notice who is around you. I will go on to things like being followed, how you spotted, little tricks you can use when we're looking at that. I know we're going to look at it. I know it's only 2 hours long, the workshop, but there will be a lot of information there. Walking down the road, what side of if I ask you this now, what side of the street do you walk down? You'll go, God, any side of the street. A lot of people are attacked, especially kidnappings, when we're looking at kidnappings, young girls especially, but ladies as well. I do it when I can. If I don't think there's a threat around, I'll walk down any side of the street. If it's dark, I will always walk towards the traffic. If I think I'm being followed, I would walk down towards the traffic. When we're looking at the kidnap threat, it is more difficult to snatch you off the street when you can see, if you're situationally aware, vehicles coming up towards you, not from behind. And that's where we see a lot of kidnappings happening, where vehicles will come up behind someone, they'll stop, they'll snatch somebody off the street, drag them into the car. It's a lot more difficult when you don't know what's behind you, when you don't know what is approaching you from behind. So think about what time of day it is, where you are, how busy it is. I cover this in situational awareness, where I'm walking down the street, where I'm talking about tactically walking down the street. When do you cross the road? How do you cross the road? Where do you stand near the pavement? I've had people pushed in front of vehicles just because they've had somebody next to them who's maybe had mental issues, or they've had an argument. So we need to be aware of everything around us. Totally impossible. The main goal is to be 360-degree aware, 24/7, 365 days a year. It's not going to happen. Sometimes we're asleep, we might be drunk, we might be on our phone. There's going to be some reason we might be distracted. There's going to be some reason why we can't be 100%, and we'll never achieve that. That is the perfect goal. But as much as possible, we need to be able to do that. And I will cover this on the workshop, like I said. In your car, what's the first thing you do when you get in the car as a lady? Yeah, I bet you it's not locking your door. And I see this a lot, you know, and I'm sure everyone who's watching YouTube and the news and everything else, you'll see people get in the car and all of a sudden somebody's yanked the car door open, grabbed the woman, or tried to rob her or do something else. Lock the door. Old cars are different to new cars, obviously. I've got a newish model. I've just changed it from an old one where I had to manually lock the doors. It didn't automatically lock when I drove off. That is a good point, because as soon as you shut the door, it doesn't lock. It won't lock until you start the car and then start driving off. A friend of mine always tests me on this. Every time we go on a job and I meet up with him, as soon as I stop, he tries to open my door. And I make sure that door's locked and it doesn't open until I want it to open, and it locks before I set off. As soon as I get in, and we'll look at this of what you've got to do if you've got children in the car. There's just yourself, there's no husband, partner or anything like that. What you need to do in your car, we'll look at what you do when you first get in your car, what you need to do when you drive in, coming up to traffic lights, pedestrian crossings, what you need to do when you come and park, whether it's on the side of the road, in a car park. We're going to cover lots of different things, but please, as soon as you get into that car, lock your car door. That's even if it's in your drive, if it's on the street, if it's in a multi-storey car park somewhere, doesn't matter where it is, lock your door. Also, and I'm sure you've seen this as well, I see people with their remote opening cars when they're about 20, 30 feet away from the car. I've been in a number of situations where I could have opened that car, taken things out of the car. If I was of a mind to be a criminal, I'd be searching all those cars. And I'd be hanging about to see who did that, because that's what people do. And I've seen it, and I'm sure you've seen it as well. People flicking the remote, opening the car well before they've got there. Don't open that car door until you're standing next to your car. And as soon as you get in, lock that car door. These are trained actions. It's really odd when we're first doing this. You know, we've got to get it into our heads. Have this mindset, a personal security mindset, and it's difficult. You know, we will forget to do it as we're learning how to do it. Has to get it before it becomes a subconscious action. Pubs and clubs. Spiking is a big thing these days. You know, women are getting the drugs spiked, then they're getting taken away. I'm not going to go into everything that happens to them until I get onto the workshop there. Do not trust your friend, whoever you're with, whether it's your husband, whether it's a good friend, your best friend, a group of people out for a party. Do not trust the people you're with to look after your drink. And I'm not saying that because they're going to spike your drink. What I'm saying is you cannot guarantee 100% that they are looking after your drink. They will look after your drink to the best intentions, but there is nothing to stop them being distracted by either intentional means or unintentional means. They're having a good time, they're chatting with their friends, yes, the drink's there. All of a sudden, somebody talks to them, they turn away, and somebody puts something in that drink. You're responsible for your safety. Do not trust your friends with your drinks. If you're going to go for a dance, drink your drink, go on the dance floor, or leave it and then get a fresh drink when you get back. If you need to go to the toilet, drink your drink, same again, leave your drink, go to the toilet, get a new one when you get back. Do not trust your friends at all, because they're out enjoying themselves. They've got more things they want to do than actually just stare at your drink. You cannot guarantee that they're going to look after it 100%. Communications. Communications is a big thing. Inform, and we've seen adverts on the TV for communications. You know, informing friends, family, police officers. You know, and I'll come on to that in a second. Informing people where you are, where you're going, where you're going to be, and at what time. If there's any detours to that, update them. You know, WhatsApp messages, text messages, quick phone call, voice messages, whatever. Communications, and there's some apps, and I'm going to look at these on cover some of the apps on the workshop as well. They're really good ones where you can just press that and it sends a signal to people who need to know where you are. And then have a response plan as well. So if you don't, inform them. Maybe 30 minutes, an hour afterwards, and still no contact, they know then to get in touch with you. Make sure you're safe and well. So communications is a big thing. Everything that I really want to get across covers round about 90% of non-physical aspects of keeping ourselves safe. The last 10%, and what we find is that the most things people train on are the physical aspects, and it's back to front. And I don't do this, so I do majority of knowledge, situational awareness, keeping ourselves safe, everything before we actually get into an altercation. An altercation, that's a bad word. Before we get attacked by the bad guys out there. We don't want that. Every attack we miss, we've won. That's a thumbs up. If, like I said, we can't be 100% safe all the time. If it does happen that we need to be physical to defend ourselves, yes, we can do self-defense training. And if you're in an environment, a big city or an environment, I would definitely suggest doing some basic, not getting in depth unless you wanted to, but some basic self-defense training. On top of that, get fit, run. If you can sprint like an Olympic sprinter, your quid's in, because I can guarantee the majority, even though a lot of people these days are fit when we're looking at the bad guys out there, but if you can sprint for 200 meters, that is better than any form of self-defense. If you get that inkling, you get that, right, I'm being followed, I'm off. 100%. That is going to be better than any sort of self-defense that you want to be doing. But if you have to do self-defense, and I'm going to cover this on the workshop, what type of self-defense, your body type, your personality, your mentality, everything is inclusive of that. to decide what you need to physically train on. It's no good. People say, oh yeah, boxing's great, Thai boxing's great, jiu-jitsu, do all this stuff. It's got to be your personality, your mentality, your physical aspects about your physical attributes. You know, what are you bringing to that fight, and how are you going to do it? You know, especially if we've got people who've got physical disabilities. You know, what do you do then? One thing I'm going to touch on, because we're looking at the UK, is self-defense tools. We are, by law, not allowed to carry weapons to defend ourselves. I am going to look at two things, and I'm going to do a video in a week or so on two different aspects, and I'm sure you've seen this. You've seen one of these. Panic alarm, rape alarm, personal attack alarm, call it what you want, but you probably haven't seen one of these. One of these is about as useless as a chocolate fire guard, and the other one is really good. And I'm going to come onto these on the workshop and explain how they work, why they're good, why they're bad, what's good about the bad one and what's bad about the good one. So we need to be able to protect ourselves. One gives us a false sense of protection, a false sense of security. The other one will definitely go a long way if it gets physical to saving our life. I'm going to put these, like I said, I'll put these links down below so you can get these top tips. 10.5 different tips to the ones I've given you now. I might even add these to them so you can get 16.5 tips. I'll do 10 extra ones so you can get those. I'd love to hear your thoughts on your tips for women. If you're a lady watching this, you know, what's your tips? What have you been told you should do? And I'm going to be looking at a lot of things on the workshop. You know, public transport, where do you sit on a bus? Where do you sit on a train? How do you sit? Who should you be talking to? What do you do about eye contact? Again, we've looked at walking down the road. How do you walk down the road? What do you do in your car? Seen lots of kidnappings and carjackings with that. And again, I'll be looking at exclusive attacks, you know, real life attacks that have been caught on CCTV, what the lady was doing wrong, what she should have done, how she could have diffused the situation, which we will look at as well, again, which we're looking at de-escalation, but understanding when those de-escalation techniques, when it's gone past that stage, and then what you need to do. I hope I've given you something to think about. Let me know your comments, you know, please let me know if you're a lady watching this, what have you been told as tips? What do you think are your top tips or your best tips? What are your tips that you've been told that you think are top tips because you've actually used them in a situation? That's great. Not great if you've been in that situation, but great that you've actually remembered what to do. Please, yeah, I'd be interested in your thoughts. I'm Rock, Viper Tactical Training. Stay dangerous.